Ooh wee, wee, wee. All right, there we go. There he is. All right. Yewevodou, Jen. Name Trowo, Uduwo, Mawulisa. Pekakakaka. Afwan. All right. Hey everybody, how you doing this fine Sunday morning? One military morning. It's your friendly neighborhood priest, Hounnan Nana Togonmessie, and today, on this wonderful Sunday, what we're going to talk about is the Trowo, also known as the ancestors. Uh-huh. Everybody wants to know about the ancestors, and everybody should. The ancestors is arguably the most important piece of practice in voodoo. And so, well, why is that? Because there's a old saying, I don't know where it's from. I heard it when I was in Togo. I heard translation that I'm about to move to you when I was in Togo. And the way it goes is that the voodoo is for the living. But the true, the dead, the honored dead, the revered dead, that is what you will be once you pass on. So, without further ado, that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get into it. Um, there's a lot of questions about what happens after you die. You know, do we believe in reincarnation or whatever? I'm gonna tell you. Uh, we in voodoo there's a sort of we recognize there's a type of reincarnation in voodoo. When we say that when a person dies, they go to their ancestral abode, right? Um, the Norse call them. They have two. There's Valhalla and Hell, right? And if you lived right, if you died in battle, you live and died fighting for survival. You went to Valhalla. And if you died at home of old age and sickness, you went to hell. And I'm not going to guess at all the ins and out of that mess. I have friends who are actually outside true, and if you're interested, they can tell you all about it. I'm just aware of the difference. The Jewish people, conversely, they have what is known in America, in the West, English-speaking countries, as the bosom of Abraham. Right. This is the abode of the ancestors that everybody goes. They go to their own ancestral abode when you pass. But your disposition in the next life, it hinges solely on your ancestors' attitude towards you when you were living. So we subscribe to a type of reincarnation, but in Voodoo, we say when you reincarnate, you come back in one of your descendants. It's important that we understand that you come back through one of your descendants. There are no new souls in Voodoo. We say this all the time. There are no new souls. So what that means is that your name and your conduct all belongs to the people who came before you. So there's no way for you to disrespect your elders because you're disrespecting yourself. Yeah. Um. So, and why? How far back do we have to go? Well, what are we supposed to know? Well, I'm I'm under the impression that you need to be able to go back at least 6 generations um, to know the names of your ancestors. At least 6 generations. And listen, folks, particularly folks in the diaspora, I understand the challenge. I had to go through it myself. Right? You can overcome it, especially 6 generations. You can overcome it. Right? You can overcome it. But some people have to work harder than others, but it can be done. All right. You just have to be willing to do the work and have the resources to do it with, which I had. Uh, that's right. Army. I come from a military family, a military background. My grandfather was in the army. My father was in the army. Um, I have ancestors who fought during the Civil War. Right? So my family freed itself. I can't speak for nobody else. My family freed itself. Right? But there's a strong narrative that's going around with people talking about who you are. You have to know who you are, where you come from. And if you don't know this genealogy, then you can't really answer that question. There's people who say, well, look at this book. This book says that these things happen to these people, and these things happen to these people, and these things happen to these people, and doesn't that sound like what happened to you? Uh, they say, if you do this thing, then you belong to this person and to this group, and you're grafted to them. Blah, blah, blah. That's all fine and dandy, but you know what you cannot change? You cannot change your ancestry. You can change your philosophy. You can change your political party. You can change your nationality. You can change your clothes. You can change all those things with the exact same effort it takes to change your underwear. But you can't change your blood. Your blood is eternal. It's going to always be there with you. And your ancestor is not someone you feel a spiritual affiliation with, right? That's not what determines whether or not someone's your ancestor. Unless your last name is Shabazz, then Malcolm X is not your ancestor. He could be a revered. He could be a revered figure of some type. We'd call him Tope. Right? He could be that. But what he can't be is your ancestor unless your last name is Shabazz. What was his name? Little? Unless it's one of them, then that's different. But otherwise, he's not your ancestor. You can only claim your mother and your father as your ancestors, and their mothers and their fathers, and their mothers and their fathers. Ancestry goes straight up. Your uncle ain't your ancestor. Your deceased sibling is not your ancestor. Your best friend or your best friend's mom, who practically raised you, ain't your ancestor. That old lady down the street who looked out for you and taught you how to play the piano and made you peanut butter and jelly sandwiches while your mama was at work or hole hopping or whatever she was doing. And your father was in prison or running hose or whatever they was doing, or just working really, really, really hard, whatever they was doing. That lady who raised you, if it ain't your mother, it ain't your ancestor. Your ancestor is your mother and your father, and their mother and their father, and their mothers and their fathers, and their mothers and their fathers, on and on and on and on, ad infinitum, until ready, you get to the beginning of the species. Yes. In voodoo, we hold this to be self-evident that the oldest ancestor of any individual is going to always be Mawulisa, God. It bears itself out. Most of us regard Mawulisa as mother and father. Most of us relate to that divine source as a parental figure, and that's why you innately relate to that divine power as a parental figure. Now you superimpose all the flaws that your mother has and all the flaws that your father has on it, sure, but that's how you see it. That's how you will naturally see it. It's mommy, it's daddy, and that's why, because it's your grandmother millions of times removed. It's your grandfather millions of times removed. That is also the mother and father of everything else on earth is incidental. It's your ancestor. And we know that when you become a spirit, it is easier for you to converse and comprehend with deity, with God. And so, because of this, we worship our ancestors. We revere them, venerate them. A lot of people have a problem with the word worship. I don't. I don't. We esteem them to the point of emulation, um, and we offer to them in the hopes that they can and will intercede on our behalf with the powers of destiny, with God and the power of destiny. So to me, that's worship in a nutshell. Everything else, is just semantics. You're just afraid of calling something what it is. So, with that being the case, though, you have to give. So, one of the things I'm going to talk about today, and I think the most important thing that I want to talk about today, is how to honor the ancestors and why. Now, first and foremost, we know that the ancestors are created beings, right? They're you with no skin. They walked around on this earth for a time and then they passed on. They transitioned. They crossed over. They ascended. And one day we will all take this road to the next world. So, with them being created beings, they are also finite. They have limits to it, to what they can do, but not the same as what we have. One of the limits that they have, though, is that it requires a tremendous amount of energy to impact this world in the favor of its descendants. In other words, you have to feed your ancestors. You have to feed them. You have to make sacrifice and offerings and things of this nature so that they can work for you. And you need to be careful because they'll vibe off your attitude because they love you. You're their people. But I'm running off to the side, so let's get started. So how do you venerate your ancestors? You need three things. Four, technically, but you really only need three. You need a bottle of gin, a bottle of water, and a sweet drink. Preferably something like Coca-Cola, lemonade, Mountain Dew, something like that. I personally use San. I'm a personal fan of San Pellegrino because nothing but the best for my chemical. So gin, water, sweet drink. And you don't have to have all three of these. You don't have to offer up entire bottles of this stuff, right? But you do have to um, offer up something. So there you go. You got your water. You take your water, put it into a cup. You call your kinfolks by name, right? The ones you know, you call them by name. Mm. So in the name of God, I call daddy, mommy, grandma, granddad. Call them by name though. Right? Call your kinfolk by name. You know their name. They're your people. You know their name. And if you don't know their name, then you need to go find out what their name is. Unless, unless of course, the previous four generations have all died out. The four generations right before you was all dead. Then that's the only time you should not be able to figure out their names because you know your mom and daddy's name. So that's one set out of the way, but they might not be dead yet. Ooh. So your grandparents, your great grandparents, your great great grandparents, and your great 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 grandparents. That's who you want to know at a minimum. And if you can't figure out who your grandparents' name is, ask your mom and daddy. They know who they are. And you pour out libation in the name of God as you understand God names to be. In the name of God, I offer you cool drink, strong drink, sweet drink. Let them take that off. And then you talk to them. Grandma, granddad, this is what's going on. I need your assistance. Mama, Papa, I don't understand XYZ. I need you to come let me know. Make it plain. And that's it in a nutshell. What do you need? You need those three liquids. That's all you need in a cup. You want to get a cup or something that's dedicated only for that. Nobody else drinks out of it. Get it. I don't care what it look like. White's best, but doesn't matter. White and clear. Oh my goodness. Those are your best options. And that gives the Trowo, the ancestors, the energy they need to accomplish tasks for you. You put your ashe in it. That's why you pray over everything. You put your ashe in it. And they go and they do work for you. They remove obstacles. They inform you in your dreams of things that need to be done and seen. So there's that. They also intercede on your behalf with God. They can actually comprehend the concept of that divinity. And so they go and they talk to God because that's their ancestor, just like he's yours. And then they come back and let you know God said yes, God said no, God said we'll see. But you make those offerings and then you talk to them. Hi, how you doing? This is what's going on with the kids. Yeah. And you want a space, but you don't need an altar. I've seen a lot of people talk about they're gonna make an altar. I'm gonna tell you something. Altar's not An altar has one purpose and one purpose only: a sacrifice. And unless you're initiated to the knife, most spirits won't accept a sacrifice from the uninitiated because they're not initiated to the knife. They don't know how to prepare. And they'll show up, they'll be unclean. The sacrifice will be unclean. The sacrifice could be something that the ancestor doesn't want. So you don't want to set up an altar. You can set up a table, a prayer table. And a table is simply a table that has been adorned with your intention to communicate and express yourself to that spirit, and vice versa. Yeah. So that's that. You can put a prayer table down, and the prayer table is well, what you won't put up though is an altar, because an altar requires installation, and you have to know the rites and the rituals to install an altar. Now, I know I've seen a lot of stuff out there that's, oh no, you don't need all of that. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And the first time you try to feed your ancestors something that is not cool for them, they'll let you know. So, that's the long and short on ancestor veneration. Why you venerate your ancestors? Because they will impact the disposition of your soul after you pass away. And they will and can and should be able to communicate with God things that don't fall clearly within the purview of your destiny, of your say. So, if you enjoyed what I had to talk about and you like this message, hit the subscribe button, uh, hit the like button so that we can get this word out. Because what I'm doing is strictly for voodoo to come into the hands of the people that it is for. So until next time, peace and blessings. Remember to be of good character. Peace.